Ambassador Val stood before the crystalline viewing portal of the Celestial Arbitrator, their flagship's neural interfaces streaming data directly into their consciousness. The blue-green world below seemed unremarkable, yet another primitive planet to be brought into the enlightened fold of the Galactic Union. Their antennae twitched in mild amusement as they observed the crude satellites orbiting the planet like technological debris. "Begin standard pre-integration protocols," Val commanded, their thoughts resonating through the ship's crystal matrix. The massive fleet of Union vessels, each a perfect geometric marvel of crystalline engineering, shifted into optimal broadcast formation above the planet's atmosphere. The first indication that this integration would be different came when their scanners began producing contradictory readings. Chief Analyst Zenra's expressions shifted through various shades of purple, a sign of deep confusion in their species. "Ambassador, we're detecting both primitive fossil fuel emissions and advanced quantum signature patterns. Their technology appears to be developing along multiple paths simultaneously. This defies all known development models." Val antenna stiffened. "Impossible. All species follow the standard progression. Check your instruments." Confirmed multiple times. "Ambassador, they appear to be exploring numerous technological paths concurrently. We're detecting everything from basic combustion engines to experimental fusion reactors. Their computational systems range from binary electronic devices to rudimentary quantum processors." Before Val could process this anomaly, their communications array erupted with activity. The standard first contact broadcast had barely begun when the ship's translation matrix nearly overloaded. "Emergency status." The communications officer's crystalline form pulsed with alarmed red frequencies. "We're receiving thousands of simultaneous responses in different languages. The translation systems can't keep up." Val rushed to the communication console, their own crystalline appendages interfacing directly with the ship's systems. The data flood was overwhelming. Where most species responded with a unified planetary message, this world was generating responses in hundreds of different languages, from thousands of different sources. "How many primary communication channels are they using?" Val demanded. "We've identified over 200 major languages, with thousands of regional variants. They're responding through digital channels, analog radio waves, quantum-entangled particles, and, Ambassador, they're even using our own carrier frequencies. They shouldn't be able to detect those, let alone transmit on them." The situation deteriorated further when their cloaked support fleet reported anomalies. Somehow, the humans' primitive radar systems were creating interference patterns that made their cloaking technology partially visible. It should have been impossible. The Union's phase shift technology operated on principles these humans couldn't possibly comprehend. "Ambassador," Zenray interrupted, their color now a deep indigo of concern, "we're detecting multiple defense systems activating globally. But they're not coordinating through any central authority. Each region appears to be implementing different defensive strategies, yet somehow they're forming a comprehensive planetary defense network." Val antenna curled in disbelief. Every species they'd encountered over 10,000 years of Union expansion had followed predictable patterns. Unified government, standardized technology, orderly progression from one development stage to the next. This chaotic approach to civilization defied everything they knew about technological and social evolution. "Show me their global communication patterns," Val ordered. The holographic display materialized, showing Earth's information flow. Instead of the expected hierarchical structure, they saw a web of interconnected networks, each operating independently yet somehow forming a coherent whole. Information flowed in all directions, adapted, mutated, and emerged transformed. It was organic, chaotic, and impossibly efficient. "Fascinating," Val whispered, their crystalline form resonating with unexpected harmonics. "Send a priority message to the Union Council. This integration may require a new approach." In the space of a few hours, humanity had already broken every rule in the Union's integration protocols. and they were just getting started. The United Nations General Assembly Hall buzzed with an energy Val Enix had never experienced in their 3 centuries of diplomatic service. Unlike the orderly, hierarchical submissions they were accustomed to, this gathering felt more like a quantum particle storm, chaotic, unpredictable, and crackling with potential. "Your terms are non-negotiable," Val Enix stated, their crystalline form refracting light across the podium. The Union's protocols for technological standardization has successfully integrated over 10,000 species. A human female, Dr. Sarah Chen, quantum physicist, raised her hand with casual disregard for diplomatic protocol. "About those protocols," she said, adjusting her glasses, "we've been reviewing your crystalline computing architecture, and we have some concerns about its limitations in processing and dimensional calculations." Val Enix's antenna froze mid-twitch. "Limitations. Our computing systems are the most advanced in known space. In linear processing." "Sure," Dr. Chen continued, pulling up a holographic display of her own. "But your crystal matrices can't handle the quantum fluctuations necessary for calculating probability waves across multiple dimensional boundaries. We've been experimenting with hybrid systems that—" "Dimensional mathematics is forbidden," Val Enix interrupted, their voice resonating with harmonic warning tones. "The Union banned such research after the collapse of the Third Age." Another human, this time a teenager who had apparently won something called a science fair, spoke up from the gallery. "Wait, you guys just stopped researching entire branches of physics because something went wrong once. That's not very scientific." The Union's diplomatic team buzzed with alarmed frequencies. Val Enix felt their crystalline structure vibrating with stress. This was not how first contact negotiations were supposed to proceed. Species were meant to be awed by Union technology, not questioning its fundamental principles. "Perhaps," Val Enix tried again, "we should focus on the benefits of Union membership. Our standard technology package will elevate your civilization by at least 300 years. 300 years. A human engineer snorted from his seat. "Your ion propulsion systems are running at 60% efficiency. We could boost that to 85% just by reconfiguring the crystalline lattice structure. And don't get me started on your quantum shielding. Who designed those wave functions?" Val Enix's diplomatic training was failing them. Every standard procedure, every practiced response, shattered against humanity's relentless questioning. Worse, their analyses were disturbingly accurate. The Union's technology, unchanged for millennia, suddenly seemed stagnant under humanity's scrutinizing gaze. "We noticed you use crystal-based quantum computing exclusively," another scientist chimed in. "Have you considered parallel processing with biological computers? We've had some fascinating results combining organic neural networks with quantum systems." The Union's science advisor, TER-MX, couldn't contain themselves. Biological computing. Combined with quantum systems, the processing errors would be astronomical. Actually, the human pulled up another diagram. The organic components adapt to quantum errors in real time. "Here's our latest test data." "Enough." Val Enix's voice shattered 3 crystalline water glasses. "The Union's methods are not open for debate. You will accept our guidance, or face isolation from galactic society." The room fell silent. Val Enix felt a moment of relief. Finally, the proper order of things would be restored. Then they noticed the humans were smiling. The UN Secretary-General stepped forward, her aged face bearing an expression Val Enix's cultural database couldn't quite decode. "Ambassador," she said softly, "you speak of isolation as a threat. But humanity has faced isolation before, the isolation of our single world, thinking we were alone in the universe. In that isolation, we didn't stagnate. We dreamed. We innovated. We pursued every path we could imagine, and then imagined new paths to pursue." She gestured to the assembly. "You offer us certainty. We offer you possibility. The question is, Ambassador, which is truly more valuable?" Val Enix's antenna drooped as they realized a terrible truth. They hadn't come to uplift humanity. Humanity was about to uplift them. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology's Advanced Research Lab was giving Union Scientific Director Ren Elks a headache. Their crystalline neural pathways felt scrambled after just 2 hours of touring the facility. Their assistant, Kai UX, had already excused themselves after witnessing a human undergraduate's casual violation of 3 Union physics principles. And this is just one of thousands of research facilities. Ren Elks asked their human guide, Dr. Marcus Wong, trying to keep their voice steady. One of the smaller ones, actually, Marcus replied, leading them past a room where students were apparently trying to fold space using sound waves. Though if you want to see some really interesting work, you should check out the garage startups in Silicon Valley. Garage startups. The translation matrix struggled with the concept. Oh, people developing new tech in their garages. Last month, a 16-year-old girl developed a rudimentary teleportation device while working on her parents' car. It only moves subatomic particles so far, but still, pretty neat for a weekend project. Ren Elks' crystalline form briefly lost cohesion. They had to redistribute their molecular structure twice before responding. Teleportation research is restricted to primary research facilities under Union law. It requires at least 7 centuries of preliminary quantum studies. 7 centuries. Marcus laughed. No offense, but that seems a bit slow. We found that parallel development tracks yield better results. Like here, he gestured to a large laboratory where dozens of researchers worked at various stations. We're simultaneously exploring 15 different approaches to faster-than-light travel. 15 different. But that's completely inefficient. The Union determined the crystal pulse drive was the optimal solution 3,000 years ago. Optimal doesn't mean only, called out a young researcher as she passed by, carrying what appeared to be a miniature black hole in a containment field. We're getting promising results with quantum tunneling, dimensional folding, and this really cool thing we discovered by accident while studying coffee rings. Ren Elks watched in horror as she casually adjusted the containment field with one hand while sipping coffee with the other. That's not proper laboratory protocol. Speaking of protocol, Marcus continued, seemingly oblivious to Ren Elks' distress. We'd love your input on this problem we're having with multidimensional computing. We can achieve 10-dimensional calculations, but the power requirements are still too high. 10-dimensional? Impossible. The Union's most advanced systems can only handle 7 dimensions. Really? Huh. Marcus scratched his head. Maybe you could talk to our quantum computing team. They've been integrating crystal tech with biological neural networks and quantum probability matrices. The results are pretty promising. They entered a vast chamber where hundreds of different experiments ran simultaneously. Ren Elks' sensors detected quantum fluctuations, gravitational waves, dimensional rifts, and several forms of energy they couldn't even classify. How do you maintain safety with so many potentially volatile experiments in proximity? Oh, we just developed smart containment fields that adapt to different types of energy signatures. The AI running them learns from each interaction. Actually, it was inspired by soap bubbles. You know how they automatically find optimal shapes. We just applied that principle to quantum fields. Ren Elks watched as a group of students argued over lunch, their debate somehow covering string theory, consciousness transfer, and whether pineapple belonged on pizza. Their casual brilliance, their willingness to challenge every assumption, their seeming disregard for the impossible, it all violated everything the Union held sacred about scientific progress. Director, Marcus said, his tone suddenly serious. I know this all seems chaotic to you. But consider this. While the Union spent millennia perfecting a single path, humanity explored thousands. Some failed, sure. But each failure taught us something new, and sometimes the biggest breakthroughs came from combining seemingly failed approaches. He gestured to the bustling laboratory. This isn't inefficiency, it's evolution in action. And we're just getting started. Ren Elks' communication crystal chimed. More Union scientists reporting similar discoveries worldwide. Humanity wasn't just challenging their technology. They were challenging the very foundations of how the Union thought about progress itself. The implications were either terrifying or exhilarating. Ren Elks wasn't sure which scared them more. The cultural exchange aboard the Celestial Arbitrator was proceeding exactly as awkwardly as Val Enks had feared. Humans wandered the crystalline corridors, asking countless questions about technology the Union had perfected ages ago. Meanwhile, Dr. Maya Patel sat cross-legged in a corner, tapping a simple rhythm against the floor with her pencil while staring at the ship's central power core. Dr. Patel, Val Enks approached, antenna twitching with concern. Is our technology not interesting enough to warrant proper observation protocols? Maya looked up, dark eyes sparkling with amusement. Oh, it's fascinating. I'm just trying to figure out why your ships aren't shaking themselves apart. The ambient temperature in the chamber dropped several degrees as every Union officer froze. Val Enks's crystalline form vibrated with sudden anxiety. Explain. Well, Maya stood, still tapping her pencil. Your entire ship is basically one giant crystal. Right. Beautiful engineering, really. But crystals have natural resonant frequencies. The rhythm I'm tapping. It's almost exactly 1/3 of your ship's resonant pattern. Scale it up with the right harmonics. She let the thought hang in the air. Val Enks's security chief, Kartix, burst into the chamber. Ambassador, we're detecting unauthorized scans of our structural matrices. Not scans, Maya corrected. Just basic audio analysis. Any first-year physics student with a good ear could spot it. Your ships are like giant tuning forks. The implications hit Val Enks like a quantum cascade failure. If what she was saying was true, the entire Union fleet, tens of thousands of ships built over millennia, could be vulnerable to simple sound waves. This is classified information, Kartix declared. We must contain this knowledge immediately. Maya raised an eyebrow. Contains. It's literally vibrating through every deck of your ship. But that's not the interesting part. There's more. Val Enks wasn't sure they wanted to know. The interesting part is why you never noticed. Maya pulled out a tablet, sketching quickly. See, your crystalline technology is so perfect, so refined, that you stopped looking for flaws. Humans, we're messy. We make mistakes. Our technology has redundancies built on redundancies because we assume something will go wrong. She handed the tablet to Val Enks. On it was a surprisingly simple modification to their crystal matrix structure, one that would completely eliminate the resonance vulnerability. You're giving us the solution. Kartix's confusion was evident in their shifting colors. But this is tactical information, a strategic advantage. Maya shrugged. Would you rather we kept it secret until some less friendly species figured it out? Besides, we're supposed to be allies, right? Allies help each other. Val Enks studied the human woman carefully. In a few hours, she had found a critical flaw in Union technology that had existed for thousands of years. She could have kept this information secret, used it as leverage, or even developed it into a weapon. Instead, she was freely offering a solution. Dr. Patel, Val Enks said slowly, you understand this discovery could destabilize the entire power structure of the Union. Our ships are symbols of perfection, of the superiority of our unified approach to technology. Nothing's perfect, Maya replied, picking up her pencil again. That's what makes the universe interesting. But hey, if you want to talk about really mind-bending stuff, I have some theories about using crystal resonance for dimensional tunneling. Your ship's structure could actually be perfect for it, with a few tweaks. As Maya launched into an explanation that made several Union scientists' crystals crack, Val Enks had a disturbing realization. The humans weren't just identifying the Union's weaknesses. They were seeing possibilities the Union had never imagined. And instead of using this knowledge for advantage, they wanted to share it, improve it, explore it together. Perhaps, Val Enks thought, watching Maya sketch impossible ideas on her simple tablet. This was why the humans had progressed so quickly. They didn't see flaws as failures. They saw them as doorways to new discoveries. The Union had spent millennia seeking perfection. Humanity had spent millennia learning from imperfection. And somehow, that had made all the difference. Val and X stood in their private chambers aboard the Celestial Arbitrator, watching their child, Sen X, through a crystalline observation panel. The young Union citizen was engaged in what humans called brainstorming with a group of mixed-species youth, a practice that would have been unthinkable mere months ago. "Your molecular structure is vibrating with concern, parent," Sen X said later, entering the chamber. Their crystalline form shimmered with unusual color patterns, modifications that mimicked human fashion trends. "You missed your standard progression studies again," Val X noted, trying to keep their harmonics neutral. "Those studies are static, linear, boring." Sen X's form pulsed with excitement. "Did you know humans learn through something called play? They make mistakes on purpose to understand how things work. Today, we deliberately crashed a simulation just to see what would happen at the quantum level." Val X's antenna curled in horror. "Deliberate errors. Sen X, our society is built on precision, on perfect replication of established knowledge. And that's exactly why we've stagnated." Sen X's crystalline surface rippled with emotional patterns that weren't even in the Union's standard emotional spectrum. "The humans showed me their history. They've had countless civilizations rise and fall, each one learning from the other's mistakes. We've had the same civilization for 10,000 years, perfect and unchanging. And what have we really discovered in all that time?" Before Val X could respond, an alert pulsed through the ship's crystal matrix. Emergency council session. When they arrived at the council chamber, the scene was unprecedented. Young Union members from every species were present, their forms modified with human-inspired variations. The council elders vibrated with barely contained distress. "This contamination must stop," Elder Zinnex declared, their ancient form pristine and traditional. "These human ideas threaten the very foundation of Union society." Yesterday, a group of students requested permission to establish a random innovation laboratory. Random. As if chaos could produce better results than our perfected methods. "But it does," a young voice called out. Mert Tex, once a promising Union scientist, stepped forward. Their crystalline form was barely recognizable, restructured with organic-inspired patterns. "We tested it. Our team combined 3 failed experiments at random and discovered a new form of quantum entanglement. The applications for communication alone." Silence. Zinnex's voice shattered several decorative crystals. "This is exactly what we feared. Humans don't just break rules. They infect others with the desire to break rules. Their chaos spreads like a virus." Perhaps, Val and X found themselves saying, surprising even themselves, "What we call chaos, they call growth." The chamber fell silent. Val X continued, their voice gaining strength. "My own child showed me something today. Humans have a saying, 'Perfect is the enemy of good.' We sought perfection so single-mindedly that we stopped seeking anything else. And look what it got them," another elder scoffed. 1,000 different languages, 1,000 different cultures, 1,000 different ways of doing everything. Inefficient, messy, primitive. 1,000 different ways to solve the same problem." Sen X countered. "When one way fails, they have 999 backups. When we fail, we just keep trying the same perfect solution, hoping for a different result." The debate raged for hours. Across the Union, similar scenes played out. Young members began experimenting with human concepts like creativity and innovation. Art, once limited to perfect crystalline structures, exploded with new forms. Music, previously confined to mathematically perfect harmonies, began incorporating human concepts of discord and resolution. Val and X watched their society struggling with this transformation, reminded of something a human child had told them. The caterpillar might think the chrysalis is death, but the butterfly knows it's just the beginning. The Union was entering its own chrysalis, and no one could predict what would emerge. But as Val and Ix watched their child eagerly discussing new ideas with others, they realized that perhaps perfection wasn't what they should have been seeking all along. Perhaps it was the capacity to change that made a civilization truly advanced. The attack came without warning. The human colony on New Eden went dark first, followed by 3 Union outposts in rapid succession. Val and Ix stood in the emergency command center, watching as unknown ships with impossible energy signatures swept through their defenses like quantum ghosts. Our weapons pass right through them, Kartix reported, their crystalline form clouded with stress patterns. The phase variance is unlike anything in our database. The Council is still debating the proper response protocol. How long until they reach the next colony? Val and Ix asked. 17 hours, standard time. Maya Patel burst into the command center, followed by Sen Ix and a team of Human Union hybrid researchers. We don't have time for protocols, she said, throwing a handful of holographic projections into the air. Look at these readings from New Eden. The images show the enemy ships shifting between dimensional states, making conventional weapons useless. The Union commander stared in helpless fascination at technology that shouldn't exist. Their dimensional shifting is why your weapons aren't working, Maya explained, her fingers dancing through the data. But we noticed something during the attack. Sen Ix, show them. Sen Ix stepped forward, their modified crystalline form pulsing with excitement. The enemy ships have to maintain quantum coherence to shift dimensions. But look at this energy spike when they fire their weapons. There's a momentary phase lock. We can't exploit that, a Union commander objected. The window is too small for our targeting systems. Your targeting systems, maybe. Maya grinned, but we humans still remember how to shoot the old-fashioned way. Sometimes the best targeting computer is the human brain, especially when you augment it with Union crystal tech. Understanding dawned on Val and Ix. You want to combine technologies. Better. Maya's eyes sparkled. We've already done it. The research team at MIT hasn't slept in 3 days. We've modified Union crystal matrices to create quantum-guided projectiles, old-school kinetic weapons wrapped in crystalline shells that can sync with the enemy's phase variance. And we've adapted your fleet's harmonic resonance weakness into a weapon, Sen Ix added. When our bullets hit their shields, they'll create a cascading resonance effect that forces them to stay in one dimension. The Union commanders murmured in disbelief, taking a known weakness and turning it into a strength. It violated every principle of their military doctrine. We don't have time to run this through proper testing protocols, Kartix warned. Good, Maya said, already moving toward the production facilities. Testing everything to perfection is what got the Union stuck in the first place. Sometimes you have to trust your gut and improvise. The next 12 hours were chaos by Union standards. Human engineers worked alongside Union technicians, modifying crystal weapons into hybrid abominations that made the traditionalists cringe. Targeting systems were jury-rigged with human neural interfaces. Union ships had their perfect crystalline structures deliberately altered to generate messy quantum fields. When the enemy fleet arrived at the human colony of New Atlas, they found not the organized Union response they expected, but a guerrilla force of hybrid ships emerging from quantum shadows. The first volley of crystal-guided kinetic weapons caught them completely by surprise. They're adapting, Kartix reported, watching the battle unfold. Their dimensional shifting is trying to compensate. That's the beauty of it, Maya said, her hands flying over the controls. Our weapons are deliberately imperfect. Every shot has slightly different quantum harmonics. They can't adapt to what we're going to do, because even we don't know what we're going to do next. The battle lasted less than an hour. The enemy fleet, faced with weapons they couldn't predict or counter, retreated in disarray. In the command center, Union officers stared in amazement at battle logs that violated every principle of their military science. I don't understand, one commander admitted. How could such an inefficient, improvised approach succeed where our perfect systems failed? Val and X watched their child working seamlessly with the human team and finally understood what humanity had been trying to teach them all along. Because perfection, they said softly, is predictable. And in battle, as in evolution, the ability to adapt is the greatest strength of all. The Grand Hall of Harmony, once a monument to union perfection, now pulsed with discordant energies. The crystalline walls, previously uniform and pristine, had been modified with organic-inspired patterns that shifted and flowed. Val and X watched as their child, Sen X, prepared to present their team's findings to the Union Council. "This is unprecedented," Elder Zen X protested, their traditional form contrasting sharply with the evolved architecture around them. But juvenile, presenting to the full council, and with unauthorized modifications to their form. Sen X stepped forward, their crystalline structure now a beautiful hybrid of Union precision and human-inspired adaptation. The research team behind them was equally diverse, young Union scientists with modified forms working alongside human experts. "Honorable Council," Sen X began, their voice harmonics incorporating human emotional patterns. "We've discovered something that challenges everything we thought we knew about technological evolution." The chamber's holographic display came alive with a demonstration that made several Elder Council members lose molecular cohesion. Sen X's team had created a new form of computing architecture that merged Union crystal technology with human neural networks and quantum probability matrices. By embracing controlled chaos in our crystal lattices, Sen X explained, "We've achieved computing speeds that our traditional perfect structures could never reach. The imperfections, the very flaws we spent millennia trying to eliminate, are what make it work." Maya Patil, now sporting crystalline augmentations of her own, stepped forward to demonstrate. "Watch what happens when we introduce deliberate errors into the system." The display showed computational problems being solved in ways that defied Union mathematics. The system wasn't following perfect logical paths. It was exploring multiple possibilities simultaneously, learning from failures, adapting in real time. "Impossible," an elder whispered. "You've corrupted the pure crystal matrices with organic randomness." "We prefer the term enhanced," Sen X replied. "And this is just the beginning. We've applied the same principles to energy generation, faster than light travel, even our basic social structures." Val and X watched with pride as their child articulated a vision of the future that would have been unthinkable months ago. Across the Union, similar transformations were taking place. Young members were experimenting with hybrid technologies, creating new art forms, even modifying their own crystalline structures to incorporate organic principles. "This is more than just technological evolution," Sen X continued. "We're seeing the emergence of a new way of thinking. The humans showed us that perfection isn't an end state. It's a process of constant improvement through trial and error." The chamber erupted in debate. Traditional members argued for maintaining the old ways, while a growing faction of progressives pushed for embracing change. The discussion might have deadlocked if not for what happened next. Sen X's hybrid computer system suddenly detected an anomaly in spacetime, a phenomenon the Union had deemed theoretically impossible. But instead of shutting down or trying to force the data to fit existing models, the system adapted, explored, and found a solution. "It's being used right now in the Quantum Sciences Division," Maya reported, reading the incoming data. "They've achieved stable trans-dimensional communication. The error margins are huge by Union standards, but it works." The council chamber fell silent. In one moment, a hybrid system had solved a problem that had stymied Union scientists for millennia, and it had done so not through perfect calculation, but through what humans called thinking outside the box. Val stepped forward, addressing the council. 10,000 years ago, we chose perfection as our path. We believed that by eliminating chaos, by standardizing everything, we would achieve ultimate advancement. But look at what we gave up in the process: the ability to adapt, to innovate, to evolve. They gestured to the transformed chamber around them. This isn't the end of the Union. It's the beginning of something greater. A civilization that combines the best of both approaches, Union stability with human adaptability. As the council debated into the night, Val and X watched their child confidently answering questions, defending ideas that would have been heresy months ago. The Union was transforming, not through conquest or submission, but through the most powerful force humans had taught them, the willingness to embrace change itself. 5 years after humanity's first contact with the Galactic Union, Val and X stood in the grand amphitheater of the newly established Mixed Species Innovation Academy on Earth. The building itself was a testament to the transformation they'd witnessed. Crystalline spires grew organically from foundations of steel and concrete, while quantum fields shimmered between dimensions in carefully controlled chaos. Today marked the graduation of the first class of hybrid specialists, and Val and X could hardly believe how far they'd come. Their own child, Sen X, would be among the graduates, their modified crystalline form now a common sight in this new society. Nervous, Ambassador? Maya Patil asked, approaching with a smile. She'd aged slightly over the years, but her eyes still held that same spark of curiosity that had first challenged Union assumptions. Her body now hosted several crystalline enhancements, a growing trend among humans who worked closely with Union technology. Contemplative, Val and X replied, using the human emotional spectrum they'd finally learned to understand. Did you ever imagine this when you first pointed out our ship's resonance flaw? Maya laughed. I imagined a lot of things, but this. She gestured to the gathered crowd, humans, Union species, and various hybrid forms mingling freely. This is better than anything I could have imagined. The ceremony began with a display that would have been impossible 5 years ago. The graduating class demonstrated their final projects, technologies that merged Union precision with human creativity in ways that still surprised Val and X. One team had developed consciousness transfer between crystalline and organic forms. Another had created stable micro-universes for quantum computing. A third had finally cracked the problem of time observation, though thankfully not manipulation. Sen X's team presented last. They had developed something they called evolutionary architecture, buildings and ships that could adapt their crystalline structures in response to needs and environmental changes. As they demonstrated their work, Val and X noticed even the most traditional Union members in attendance leaning forward with interest. The old Union sought perfection through stasis, Sen X explained to the audience. The humans taught us to seek perfection through change. But together, we found something greater than either approach alone. The ability to grow while maintaining stability, to innovate while preserving wisdom. After the ceremony, as the celebration began, Val and X found themselves in a quiet moment with their child. You've evolved far beyond what any Union citizen was meant to become, Val and X said softly. That's because we finally understood what evolution really means, Sen X replied. It's not about becoming perfect. It's about becoming better adapted to face new challenges. Humans never saw their imperfections as flaws. They saw them as opportunities for growth. The celebration was interrupted by an urgent communication. The long-range quantum sensors, another human Union hybrid innovation, had detected something at the edge of known space, something that defied both human and Union understanding. Val and X watched as the graduates immediately began forming research teams, their excitement palpable. There was no fear, no rigid adherence to protocol, no lengthy debate about proper procedures, just pure curiosity and eagerness to explore. 5 years ago, Maya said, joining them at the observation window, you came to Earth thinking you would guide us to a better future. Instead, we all found a better future together. Outside, the first ships of the new combined exploration fleet prepared for launch. Their designs were neither purely Union nor human, but something wonderfully new, crystalline structures that could adapt and grow, powered by technologies that embraced both chaos and order. We're ready for whatever's out there, Sen X said confidently. Not because we're perfect, but because we're ready to learn, to adapt, to grow. Val Enks felt their crystalline form resonating with an emotion they'd only recently learned to appreciate: hope. The Union hadn't been overpowered by humanity's strength or technology. They'd been transformed by something far more powerful: humanity's ability to see possibility in everything, even imperfection. As the new fleet launched toward the unknown, Val Enks realized that this wasn't an ending at all. It was just the beginning of a much greater adventure, one they would face not as separate species, but as a single civilization that had learned to embrace both the perfect and the possible. In the end, that was humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy: not the power to overcome, but the courage to change.